and I moved into an apartment with two roommates. And I put everything in storage. I thought, oh, it was heartbreaking. And it was the best thing I ever did. And there are other divorce professionals out there. There's financial divorce specialists and analysts, and there are some super cool people out there I just army up, get them in your court so you can, it's okay to have your emotions, but we're going to be here to present you, work with the facts.
Mm-hmm. Divorce can be emotionally and financially overwhelming. That's why I'm teaming up with Sunny Wishart, president and founder of a la carte Financial and a certified financial planner. We will show you how to understand all things money without feeling ashamed, overwhelmed, embarrassed. You will learn more, ask questions. No question is a dumb question. Welcome to Money with Sunny. Let's get into it. Good morning, Sunny. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Wendy?
Good. So today I thought we'd share with our listeners our money story. We all have a money story. Some of them keep us stuck for years and years to come. Some of them we change, some never change. And I just thought we'll link to the bottom of this episode your story and where people can find the full thing. But I thought right now it would be a good place for us to start. What is your money story? Why are you doing what you're doing right now? Why do you feel passionate to help people get their money organized?
Yeah, I'm going to try and keep this story from being too long. I'm trying to figure out a good pickup point. So I like to introduce my money story with saying, well, I did start my career as a musician. And everyone kind of just nods from there, like, that sounds like that was tough. So I went to university. I have a degree in classical piano. But then when I got out of university, all saddled in debt. And then I made all the poor choices in my 20s and created more debt. Kind of just gave up and thought, well, look at all this debt I have. Oh, well, this is the way it is. And you stop trying. So when I married for the first time, we thought, let's be adults and buy a house. That's a good idea. And that was not a good idea. So it just kind of, nothing was sticking. We weren't even trying and it wasn't working. And I got sick. My body said, you're more stressed than you realized. And this is how it's going to show for you. And I was wondering what was wrong with me. And, I was fainting and my hair was falling out because I was so stressed by this obligation of having to pay a mortgage and having to pay all these other debts that I was lugging around in these giant baggage and working three jobs to try and fix it. And it was getting nowhere. So I literally fell into working in banking when we were applying for a mortgage, and the banker said, you would be amazing as a banker. I don't know anything about finances, obviously. But they said you could be taught. And so this is out in the East Coast, and I got the opportunity. I thought, geez, I could sure use going to the dentist and paid vacations and things like that. And I took the role and I loved it. They taught me everything and I loved learning about it. I was soaking it all, but I was still teaching music on the side. But I still wasn't getting ahead. It was just so far gone. So when we separated and I was and then we had to figure out what to do with this house. Of course, first thing instinct, I will keep the house, go stay in it. When it's the
Mm-hmm.
evil of all in my world at the time. It was what's stopping me from getting anywhere. And I like to say that I had to park my ego. So my ego was
Mm.
stay in the beautiful home with the beautiful things and work harder. But then when I looked real hard, I was quite sick and I wasn't going to be doing very well. Even the doctor said, you keep going like this and you'll be admitted very soon. So I took my ego and I parked it. And when we separated and I exited the home, of course, that cost all kinds of money too. And it was just made it felt like it was worse because I firmly believe it has to get worse before it gets better. And I moved into an apartment with two roommates. And I put everything in storage. I thought, oh, it was heartbreaking. And it was the best thing I ever did. That was the
Mm,
start of realizing that my ego was stopping me from being financially successful, taking charge. That wasn't my forever. That was my right now. This is what I need to do. It wasn't my forever, but you sure feel like it is when you're doing
mhm,
that. And that didn't take very long. I was able to just pay that debt down. It took a few years, but I was just shoveling money on there. It was amazing the strides that you can make when you just let go.
mhm,
And this is, of course, several years ago, and everything's wonderful now. And I love finance, and we're on track, and it's great. It did create a bit of I have a little, like, kind of a little PTSD on debt. So if any debts out there, I am super debt averse, they call it. Very
mhm,
scared of it because I
mhm,
know how hard it was to shovel out of it.
mhm.
Okay.
So you have a bit of a scarcity mindset still. Yeah. And that's not uncommon. I mean, I've talked to people who have, their net worth is in the millions of dollars, and they still live in a scarcity mindset, still worried about not having enough, still, focused on saving a couple bucks at the grocery store. I mean, it's a real thing. So how do you combat that? Like, that you're okay
Mhm.
financially, that you have enough, that, but you still feel that adversity.
So it's not a cash flow for me. I know I do keep a lean eye on our ins and outs in the house
Mhm,
to make sure we live within our means, which is rock bottom financial planning. Live within your
mhm,
means,
mhm,
and our savings is intact. So for me, it's if we have to borrow for any particular reason. So when we bought our home, so my family now we bought this home. It's only been 5 years.
okay.
I was petrified to take out a mortgage. I'm like, that's it. Our marriage is going to be ruined. That's what happened the first time.
Mhm,
It was very wrong. I had a lot to work on. For me, it's to I do believe and I have faith and to say my prayers that everything is okay,
mhm,
and listen to my motivational talks and what I need to hear to receive the messages, and move forward. So it's more just, yeah, there's a lot deep down in there about any borrowing, and it's all dragging forward. It's just keep an eye on everything. I still do because, well, that's what a prudent financial planner would do.
mhm.
And then the rest, give it up. You got to give it up.
Give it up. That's right. And you have a plan. So
Mhm.
you know on paper that you're moving in the right direction.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that's helpful.
Yes, that's always my bottom line is as long as our retirement's protected and the kids' education is a big priority for me, so we've got that going. If that's ever compromised, then I would look to make change, is what I say. Well, then you make change. That's
Mhm,
okay.
mhm. So taking you back to and I don't want to torture you here, but taking you back to those many years ago when you first you're sitting in that big, beautiful home. And that's where people listening to this now, many of them are sitting in that, in your home. And all your stuff is there. You're comfortable. You have your couch, you have your bed. You look around, it's comfortable. It feels safe. And the thought of having to move, literally to move all your stuff into storage like you had to do, or just put it on Kijiji or sell it, or what, is terrifying.
Mm,
So and there's a lot more to it. It's not just the actual moving, but it's the emotions that we're so attached to. And as you mentioned, our ego saying, now you failed. uh Now, our egos like to be right or wrong. We're okay, being all in right, and just no matter what, that's it, digging our heels in. And we're just as okay being all out wrong, dig our heels in, even though it makes absolutely no sense at all. So how does someone who's listening right now, kind of, just, I have to stay in this home, what questions should they be asking themselves? What can they do? uh what can they do to move forward to make a more educated, um, reasonable, decision that's more future focused, and how can they put a plan together, tapping into their values that align with their family, and do what's best for themselves? And so how do we begin? Let's kind of walk someone through the real basics here right from the beginning, because this is tough.
mm.
People want it's our home seems to have so much meaning in our lives, and I want to help people work through this.
Yeah, as a planner, I speak to presenting the facts, but as a person who's experienced that, it's like as I mentioned earlier, to remind yourself that this is a season, that the wanting to stay in the home, just like why do you want to stay in the home? And so to be sure about that why, um, because I know that's what I went through. My first reaction was, how do I stay in this house? And we didn't have kids, so that's a whole other host of emotions.
Hmm.
So the next step is to, well, especially if you're still in that phase where um the end is unclear, the end goal of separating your finances and separating your cash flows, it's still kind of up in the air. We can just look at the facts. So this is the facts of you staying in your house based on what we know today. And what if you didn't stay in your house? We know that the type of neighborhood you want to live in to be near your kids' schools or friends, a rental would cost X. What does that look like? Let's just paint the picture, and this is what it looks like. Or what if you leave and go somewhere cheaper? But that's usually not option. People do tend to want to stay, especially if there's kids. It's very important in the neighborhood, really. So just paint the picture and look at it, and to remind along the way that this is a season. This is not your forever. It doesn't have to be.
So change is uncomfortable, and I know that change is, if you're feeling uncomfortable, you're making moves. You not sure if you're making the right moves, but you're making moves. So I think, what I'm hearing is, um, finding the right person to work with to help you move through this process, and that would be someone like yourself. You could be that, 30,000-foot perspective that could help someone, who's in the weeds, in the mess, clear things up a little bit. And you mentioned putting a plan together, kind of looking at all of your options. So what are someone's options? Stay in the home,
Mhm.
move to another home, talk to a mortgage broker, arrange a new mortgage, and have your own home. Rent a property
Mm.
would be another option. Most women do like to stay in the same neighborhood as they already are in for the sake of the kids, but kids are real resilient,
Yeah.
and home is where you hang your heart. So if you hang your heart in a different part of town and kids move to a different school, I mean, I've seen it work out. I've seen it work out great. So there are, what I'm hearing you say is there are options, and it might be a good idea to sit down with someone like yourself and paint the picture of all of the different options that you have. No option is right or wrong, or you don't have to do anything. This is paper, pen, drawings, and a little plan, right? Is there anything that I'm missing? Like, is there anything that I'm missing here?
That's, yeah, looking at the options, looking at the facts of these are the avenues that one would go. I do really want to just understand, just it does a deep dive as the parent. Just why do I want to stay in the home?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I consider exiting the home?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like? So to just kind of come from the sense of why, like you say, most children are resilient. I know lots of kids whose parents, they stay together but they move constantly,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes the reason you're staying in the home is because you're projecting your own worries on the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried that now that mom and dad are no longer together,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any more change for these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you're right, you know your kid best, but just understand, is this you projecting or is this knowing your kid best?
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, that's great. And that's where we have to know ourselves first, and then when you know yourself first, you can do what's best for you, which is always best for your kids, your spouse, your friends, and everyone else. And if you're doing that from a place of true understanding, true love, knowledge, information based, you've got the answers there inside of you.
Mhm,
You really do. It's just the muddle and the emotions and the chaos and the overwhelm that block you from being able to make best choices, really. and
mhm,
and that's why we're here, to help people see that you're not the only one. You're not the only one bawling your brains out in your living room or not able to get out of your bed, because how can you possibly, like you said, do anything else to disrupt your kids' lives? You are considering divorce, transitioning through divorce. This is brutal for you and your family. And now you're going to move them out of their home and away from all their friends. It sounds like a nightmare.
mhm.
Hmm. So you did it, and now you're good. I did
Great.
it. I did it. Now I'm good. We've been there. And so what resources can you offer to people to help them to make this decision and understand that you are the creator of your story? So whatever the story is now or was yesterday is the story that is now or was yesterday. And from right now moving forward, you can change that. I think number one is to meet with someone like Sunny, a money expert. You gotta you've got to gather these who's into your corner to help you during this time. What do you suggest? What's a first step that someone can take? Maybe even a second or third step, if you have some ideas. What can someone do right now that can help them to figure this out?
So it depends on the stage you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And not to generalize things, but I'm going to. Usually in the early separation stages, everyone thinks it's going to work out okay and it's not going to be messy.
Mm-hmm.
And then as things have to be divided and payments are put on the table, this is such a common tale. That's where the animosity starts flowing. And that's where you've been separated from each other long enough to, it's like you're unveiling who each other really are in those ugly moments.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need out of the gate, if you're early on and you think, you know what, so far we're doing good. And a very small percentage of couples that have separated and divorced, I've seen work out pretty well. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking not even 5%. So the rest, I think, good, that's good for now, but I'm going to get you to army up your professional support system, which doesn't include like just me. I'm talking um lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
and because that stuff's slow. So, and sometimes if you're at the fifth hour type thing and you need some decision done now, that is not happening quickly with a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So start the process right away so you guys can start working these through. And then, of course, yes, I can start painting early pictures as well. Like, okay, this is kind of what you want to present to what you're thinking with your lawyer to talk about. Staying in the home means equalizing the home, buying him out. I always hear I have to buy him out. And then as things move forward, there's other professionals, like Wendy, you're going to help them with just working through their emotions and working with clarity in these very analytical situations that don't often stay that way.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other divorce professionals out there. There's financial divorce specialists and analysts, and there are some super cool people out there who I just army up, get them in your court so you can, it's okay to have your emotions. We're going to be here to present you, work with the facts.
Mm-hmm. I like it. So, ladies, army up. This is a difficult time. You will be stronger, more resilient, happier than you've ever been before, but you need to work through the process. I like it. Army up. Get the people in your corner that can help you to move through this process with grace, with love, with clarity, with joy, with yourself at the forefront, and everyone else will follow. Thanks, Sunny.
Hey.
And we're going to be on again next week. Look forward to seeing you all then.
Home is where you hang your heart and where memories are made. If you want to learn more, check out this video. We will show you how to get your financial documents organized without feeling overwhelmed, lost, and frustrated.